Again, welcome to the second session of the Startup Pitches for the Humans in Space Challenge. My name is David Lee, and I'm here with Julia Park. We are managers in the new portfolio investment group at Ballroom. To give a little context to everyone here that missed the first day, the Humans in Space Challenge startups are grouped into three main categories. Yesterday, we had the privilege to introduce the startups that focused on exploring diverse facets of space exploration and space utilization. Today, we have startups that represent scaling up in-space experiment and elevating astronaut cognition. And finally, tomorrow, we will be introducing startups that are reinventing astronaut healthcare management and habitat solutions.
That said, we are on day 2 of startup pitches, and we will hear from 6 of our 15 finalist teams that will scale up in-space experiment and elevate astronaut cognition. Teams have 5 minutes for their pitch, and the judges will ask questions for 2 minutes. This is a packed hour, so we will have to be strict on time. Once again, the winners of the startup pitch will receive an equity investment for the next stage of their work. We are thrilled to introduce our esteemed panel of the 14 judges.
First off, we have Dr. Einar Sawyer from the University of California, San Francisco, Professor Kyu-Sung Kim from Ina University, Audrey Berthier, the Executive Director of METIS, Dr. Marisa Rosenberg, the Senior Medical Research Engineer at SpaceX, Dr. Ariel Blah, the CEO of Aurelia Institute, Jacob Scott-Chimera, Payload Expert, Dr. Arun Sharma, Assistant Professor at Cedars-Sinai, Professor Duk-Ho Kim from Johns Hopkins University, David Zuniga, Senior Director of In-Space Solution at Axiom Space, Dr. Solange Massa, CEO of EcoAtoms, Junaid Mian from Space Fund, Dr. Monica Jain, partner at Wavemaker 360, Tarek Waigt, partner at Type 1 Ventures, and last but not least, we have Kathy O'Donnell from AWS.
Today, our startups are pitching their ideas for scaling up in-space experiment and elevating astronaut cognition. First up, we have Spacebox. Spacebox offers fully reliable, automized, and ready-to-use laboratories on self-produced nanosatellites for biotech and biopharmaceutical research in space. Please welcome Alina Borodina, the Chief Business Development Officer, to the stage.
I'm Alina, and I'm a Chief Business Development Officer for Spacebox. Our mission is to allow anyone from a pharmaceutical company to even a high school to do a biotech research in microgravity. In Spacebox, we harness the potential of microgravity for groundbreaking discoveries in drug design, disease modeling, with our user-friendly automated mini-labs. Right now, it's too expensive to conduct a biological research on low Earth orbit. As NASA changed their policies in 2019 from a grant coverage to the point that companies have to pay themselves for the whole mission. What's more, I have spoken to many professors worldwide, and all of them say that sometimes astronauts fail their missions simply because of time limit or not having enough experience with specific methodology to grow your cells accurately and delicately. In Spacebox, we address this issue with a single solution, providing an access to our fully automated mini-labs. This not only makes us 3 times cheaper than other competitors, but also cross out the human factor, ensuring higher data quality, result reproducibility. Capable of bringing your research to the low Earth orbit and back within 2 months. And our secret ingredient, AI trained on prior missions, enabling users easily select protocols while the mini-lab handles the rest of it, plug-and-play simplicity. We're going to take over $2 billion opportunity of space biopharma market. But first, we're going to sell on Earth, expanding into 5 million opportunity in vitro cell and organoid research. We target pharma companies, medical centers, and corporations as our main customers. Now we focus on the specific services of primary cell culturing and complex organoid growth to improve the disease modeling for better preclinical drug testing. Until 2025, we will improve adapters for our mini-labs, so that customers will be able to crystallize proteins and discover novel protein structures for the faster development of new drugs. Until 2029, we will make a leap toward establishing our own module on a private space station for in-space biomanufacturing. Our engineering team has performed 3 successful space missions, securing 300,000 grant investments, mostly dedicated to CUBE satellites. The nanosatellites are the final stage of technological readiness, while the MVP of Minilabs is still being developed. And we secure partners who develop free flyers from ESA, vehicles for cargo delivery, and scientific projects in microgravity, helping us to mitigate the risks for our space missions. What sets us apart is our fully automated approach and reusability of our product. As well as the universality of our system, our product is compatible with all major space carriers. Depending on customer needs, we integrate the Minilab on our own reliable CubeSat free flyers like Space Rider and, of course, ISS. Our current business milestones include finishing MVP of Minilab to prove our concept, carrying out the pre-sales, and starting our first commercial mission in spring 2024, launching it in February 2025. This will set the new stage for our next investment round, allowing us to scale up services from organoid research to protein crystallization and attract new customers with more advanced needs. Our business model centers on providing end-to-end space missions as a service, generating approximately 200,000 per mission. Additionally, on Earth, we anticipate sales of Minilab reach around 10,000 per unit. Looking ahead, we plan on establishing our own research and development facility on private space stations by 2029. This will enable us to offer in-space biomanufacturing services and manufacture complex organoid models, thereby enhancing preclinical studies here on Earth. Furthermore, our strategic focus will involve licensing the resolved protein structures to advanced drug design. This approach has potential to yield significant returns, which is average revenues of approximately 100,000 per protein. We comprise business and legal specialists representing us across the Eastern and Western Europe and the US, as well as the top scientists who have worked in biotech for a long time, and engineers, professionals who build one of the most reliable nanosatellites in Europe, and our reliable advisors from University of California and Yale University. So together, open and affordable access to biotech in space, resolving the biggest biomedical issues, bringing value to billions of people. Thank you.
Thank you, Alina, for the wonderful presentation. Judges, if you have questions for Alina, Dr. Arun.
Great presentation. I had a question about the current analyses that you can actually do within the Minilab for, say, organoid applications, cell manufacturing applications.
Right now we are getting a patent because we are implemented a very unique technology for our Minilab, which is automated cell passaging, and we're trying to get a patent from European Union on it. But our first commercial mission is going to be on research of memory cancer, which is going to be implemented also in our Minilab.
Thank you.
Yes, David?
Hi, thanks for your presentation today. Can you talk a little bit more about your sort of fundraising strategy?
So thank you for this question. This is very important for us. So right now in this competition, we're hopefully will fundraise 100,000, and then we're also applying from a grant from the European Union, which is a 2 million opportunity. And yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Solange.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Can you tell me the volume on your space missions and your Earth missions? The volume of the payload.
Can you clarify what do you mean by volume?
When you charge 200K, what is the size of the payload and the amount of experiments you put on them?
So our payload includes microfluidic panel with what we can culture predominantly any kind of cells. And our Minilab is approximately 30 cubic centimeters, and that includes in the payload.
So 1 unit CubeSat?
Yeah.
Like the Space Tango, 1 unit?
Yeah, we are planning on starting from nanosatellites and then expanding on, as I said, establishing our own module on, or moving for different free flyers for cargo delivery, for example.
Wonderful, thanks.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, Alina, for the wonderful presentation. Let's give a round of applause for Alina. Up next, we have Odyssey Spaceworks. Odyssey Spaceworks builds and operates small satellites with programmable labs in LEO for biopharmaceutical R&D. Please welcome Shashir Bankapur to the stage as he pitches his company.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Shashir Bankapur. I'm the founder and CEO of Odyssey Spaceworks. Odyssey builds and operates small sats with automated science labs for iterative R&D and rapid commercialization. Understanding the conditions in space and mastering them is key for our survival in space and our understanding of ourselves as a biological species. There is a wealth of research that happens at the ISS. But getting there can be expensive, slow, error-prone, and at times hazardous for its inhabitants. Our larger vision is to be the automation and the machinery for manufacturing in space. To meet that promise, we allow industry and researchers to conduct automated, rapid, and reproducible studies in orbit with organic and inorganic material. Rapid is important because we can go from idea in lab to orbit in as little as 90 days. And reproducibility is the key for commerce to rely on these outcomes for manufacture, both in orbit and on Earth. We're targeting large markets that can take advantage of the conditions in space today. Cancer and therapeutics, aging, wellness, and in-orbit testing for the next generation of spaceflight components. All of these combined make up a $100 billion total available market. There are 23,000 active cancer studies right now. Using our bioreactor and our organoid growth chambers, you can create a high-fidelity tumor organoid that better mimics tumor growth in humans right now. Using this, industry can shorten the $1.5 billion cancer therapeutic development cycle. Additionally, one of our focuses is speed of iteration. To that accord, our buses are flexible enough to allow you to quickly and easily integrate even the most complex of components. As evidenced by one of our first customers who's flown missions to Mars on Pathfinder and other rover missions, who said so himself that our integration process was one of the easiest and fastest that he's ever seen in commercial aerospace. We've been a busy bunch over the past year since we've been operating. We found our first few customers, raised a venture round, acquired a license to operate commercial satellites by the FCC, and in 2 weeks, we're headed to orbit with our first satellite aboard Transporter 9. Our satellites house multiple lab modules for which we charge by volume. In 2024, we have 2 upcoming launches that can take 14 different independent customers or experiments, which represents about a $3 million pipeline, of which $1.5 million in bookings and reservations till date. We're also making great progress on improving our target margins to about 70% by 25. It can be a crowded landscape when you're looking at it. However, we're complementary to most manned space stations as we can take hazardous material faster, and we're happy to fly other testing platforms as well on our platform. As evidenced by this graphic, we can get you to orbit in about 3 to 6 months for the same cost as an hour of crew time aboard the ISS. Our first satellite that goes up in 2 weeks is carrying 2 customers: the Kaplan Lab from Tufts University and Physical Synthesis. The Kaplan Lab is using our growth chamber to grow animal muscle tissue organoids. And physical synthesis is conducting an in-orbit sensor demonstration of their platform. Our team consists of a multidisciplinary team across industry, all coming together to answer one question: how can we help get industry ready to manufacture in space? And if you need a ride, come talk to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Shishir, for your wonderful pitch. Judges, now you can ask questions to Shishir. Yes?
Hi. You'd mentioned that you can support both human-rated platforms and outside of human-rated platforms. Does your business model change whenever you go to the human-rated platforms? Have you evaluated that?
If I understood correctly, you said, does our business model change if we're going to a human-rated platform?
Yes, that's correct.
Not really, in the sense of, we're happy to take our modules to a human-rated platform if that's what the customer wants. However, we act as support to them. So if there's something that's too hazardous for, say, the ISS or a commercial space station, they can take us aboard and launch us outside. And we're planning one such mission.
Thank you.
Yes.
What is the intellectual property status?
We have 2 patents that have been filed for both our platform and the biomodule, and then 2 are, I guess, in the process of being filed, specifically to the sensors and instrumentation on board.
Yes.
You are free-flying, right? Like a satellite, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you use any radiation protection for your biology, and how do you maintain the temperature and everything that biology entails?
That's a great question. How we maintain, I guess, radiation protection is twofold. One is, we usually, the sensitive biology, we sandwich between batteries, so lithium is a great insulator. We're also working with a novel rare earth metal doped coating that can help mitigate some of the radiation experienced. And then our biolab modules have full environmental control. So you can get temperature, pressure control. You can also maintain a certain gas composition within it. And you can also maintain refrigeration in the lead up to launch.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have Mutagen Tech. Mutagen Tech develops the most precise error-corrected next-generation sequencing platform for detecting rare somatic mutational variants in DNA. Please welcome Chris Bradley, the CEO and co-founder of Mutagen Tech, to the stage.
So hi everyone, I'm Chris Bradley. I'm CEO and co-founder of Mutagen Tech, and we are an ultra-high resolution sequencing service. So what are we doing? So as we've heard a lot at this conference, space can be a very damaging place. You're exposed to all sorts of endogenous and exogenous sources of damage, and occasionally that damage turns into mutations. So a key question is my DNA okay? You want to know at any given time, especially if you've been in a space environment, is my DNA okay? And we have the technology to figure that out. So we have a new technology that's been developed out of the Einstein University in New York City that allows us to amplify DNA to an extremely high and high fidelity level, and it allows us to detect ultra-rare mutations in cells. The way we do this is as a service, so we try to make this as simple and easy as possible. So laboratories or industry partners send us samples. It could be DNA, it could be tissue, it could be from any species with a reference genome, and we are able to process it, sequence it, do the bioinformatics, and then return results and raw data to the client within 4 weeks. And this is an example of what you can get. So this not only gives you the number of mutations per sample, so what's called the mutation frequency, but it also tells you what kind of mutations you get. And this can unlock insights into the sources of damage that led to that mutation. So it's almost like being able to have a Sherlock Holmes to tell you what's gone on in this DNA. This unlocks a completely new set of markets. So this technology is brand new. The ability to do this is less than 5 years old in total. And so these are just some examples. We've been active in mutagenesis research, genotoxicity, fertility, exposure, now with space, and there's a huge potential for cancer liquid biopsy as well. So without getting into too much detail, this is best in class. So we are the newest kid on the block, and we've solved a series of challenges that have been involved in this field for a long time. So we're best in class, but we're also the fastest and cheapest and highest quality out there. We have an excellent team. So as you can imagine, this type of work didn't come out of nowhere. The lab that this is associated with is Dr. Jan Vij's lab at Einstein. He's dedicated his entire career to studying these very rare mutations and their role in disease and aging. And they actually needed this type of test for themselves. So they were looking to better understand these mutations, and so they ended up having to invent a technique to do so, and we are commercializing that technology now. And last but not least, so one of the exciting things from a startup perspective is we are able to hit the ground running. So this test is already commercially available, and we are in the process of now scaling and expanding the market and the revenue for this product. And we're doing this in combination with revenue, organic revenue, investment from dilutive sources and non-dilutive sources, including around $250,000 in grants to date. And to give you a sense of what this implies, this is in less than 8 months of operation. So we went from no company to revenue positive and profitable, although of course we're reinvesting everything we make in less than 8 months. So what's next is we're looking to close a seed round that's now active, hiring key sales and operations roles. We actually have too much demand, which again, a great problem to have. So we're now looking to fulfill that demand and increase sales so that we're moving both sides of that equation. And we also want to start automating some of this. So this is currently a process that's done on Earth, but as we start to automate and miniaturize it, we want to be able to do this in situ in space as well. And there's no reason from a physics perspective that this can't be done in space, but currently it's obviously on the ground. And then just last but not least, we have some incredible partners already. So we've worked with the FDA, we've worked with some top 5 pharma so that we can't mention by name because they're under NDA, but we'll be announcing collaborations with them in the next quarter. CROs, top labs in both genotox and somatic mutation, and this list is just a fraction of the clients that we've now assembled. So we're really excited to be offering this to as many people as possible, and we're really thinking that this could be a critical use case for space, where you want to now be able to understand what the effects of space have been and what we can then do to mitigate those effects. And with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. That was a great presentation. Judges, the floor is open. Dr. Arun.
Great presentation, really promising technology. I just had a couple of questions. One is the sequencing depth that you're utilizing in this approach.
Yeah, so that's actually a really interesting question. So without getting into too much detail, it starts at 30x. That's like the general sequencing, but we are amplifying the DNA before you do 30x. So each fragment is repeatably, it's amplified at least 7 times, and each of those fragments is 30x. So it's not, it's kind of apples and oranges, but you can think of 7 times 30x minimum coverage for each fragment of DNA.
That's great. The other question is something you alluded to at the end in terms of automating some of these approaches for, say, in-space sequencing. Could you talk a little bit more about that and the avenues you're pursuing?
Yeah, so it's early days in terms of how we're going to automate it, but in general, this is a process that involves pipetting fluids, transfer fluids from different Eppendorf tubes, and then finally sequencing in a regular next-generation sequencer. And so there's nothing stopping us from doing this liquid handling and being able to do it in a space context. Like that, those are problems that have been or are being solved, and we would be able to piggyback on that. And before we go into it, we want to optimize our process. So we're basically translating from the academic space to a commercial productized SOP. And that's what we're focusing on before automating so that we can get it right the first time.
Have you considered the Illumina accelerator?
The Illumina accelerator?
Yeah.
So we are in conversations with various sequencing companies. We haven't looked at that one specifically, but I absolutely will now. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Chris. That was a great presentation. Everybody, let's give it up for Chris.
Thank you very much.
Up next, we have Magnosis. Magnosis develops a headset that measures EEG and brain impedance and applies electrical current to the scalp, which aims to simultaneously diagnose and treat dementia and depression. Please welcome Soon-Hyuk Lee, the CEO and founder, to the stage as he tells a little bit more about his company.
Hello, everyone. I am a founder and CTO of Magnosis. In space, brain blood pressure change is a big problem. It causes vision impairment and cognitive decline and Alzheimer's disease. So our solution is to develop a wearable device capable of intracranial blood pressure monitoring and cognitive monitoring, including Alzheimer's disease. So fortunately, we already developed a wearable cognitive monitoring device where diagnosis and treatment are integrated. So diagnosis by EEG and brain impedance, so it can monitor Alzheimer's disease, depression, and cognition. Treatment by electrical stimulation, so it can improve cognition and patient-tailored and capable of dose control. We will make ICP monitoring device by brain impedance. Here's the process of ICP estimation. First, measure brain impedance, which is related to blood volume, and calculate time difference between two pulses, and we can estimate intracranial blood pressure. Our target market of space is the space tourism market, and the market size will grow to $8.7 billion. And on Earth market, the target is Alzheimer's disease and depression. Then the total market size will grow to 78 billion in 2028. Our business model is selling product to the customers. We're considering B2B and B2C. So in space market, space organizations and space travel companies, and for B2C, astronauts and the workers will be our target. On Earth market, the hospitals for B2B and for B2C is individuals who care about memory loss and mood disorder. For the ICP development, we need about a year, including clinical trials. And after clinical trial, we will provide pre-sample to major organizations and companies to give them credibility of our product. And after that, we will start selling. For the Earth product, we have three products. EEG device, sales is ongoing. And for the Alzheimer's disease diagnosis device, it need clinical trials. So after that, we will start sales. And for the depression monitoring, we will start sales next year. Here's our competitors, but we are using active sensors, and which is blood volume, so we are invisible in space. But competitor A is using a passive sensor, and competitor B is using measuring in the eye, so it's very difficult to use, so it's not usable in the space. And Earth, for the Alzheimer's disease diagnosis market, the device, we obtained over 95% accuracy, the world's best figure. We have patents, and we have a GMP is obtained in Korea. And sales expectation will be grow to $13 US in 2028. So by studying how the body responds to the harsh environment, such as microgravity, we can better understand the physiology of disease, such as Alzheimer's disease. So development in space can help expand the product for on Earth. So we are currently staging in Alzheimer's disease diagnosis and depression mood disorder screening. And it will grow to ICP monitoring now for the HIC challenge and improve on the growth cognition. And finally, our short final goal is total brain function monitoring and treatment. We are making treatment and diagnosis device development company. So we are making brain disease-related device. So we will make other types of dementia, prevention, and delay. Here's our team, and we have two advisors. One is medical doctors in South Korea, and one is a professor in Harvard Medical School and MGH, and one is a clinical psychologist. Thank you.
Thank you, Sun-Hyuk, for the wonderful presentation. Judges, if you have questions, please.
Yeah, I think non-invasive method for the neurocognitive function is very important for the space. And I want to know how the result of your device, the checking the impedance, reflect the cognitive function.
Yeah, the brain impedance technique is made by me for the first time in the world. It can measure ionic balance between cells. So it can measure neurotransmitter activity in the brain. As a result, it can monitor cognitive decline or depression and Alzheimer's disease. And also, it can usable in the space and Earth as well, because in space, there will be physiological changes, and the brain impedance method can follow the changes.
Yes, David?
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I've got a couple of questions. I wanted to ask a little bit more about if you've gone through, your sales strategy was pretty aggressive. Have you already gone through the FDA approval process? I think I saw FDA approval in 2025. I'll go ahead and stop there.
Yeah, we are considering FDA in many countries. We are considering Korean FDA and US FDA and in Europe for the CE. For the FDA clearance, our strategy is two. The first one is for the equivalent comparison. So if it is approved, then it is easy to get FDA approval. But we cannot approve it by the judge. We will think about the de novo as well. So for the de novo situation, in 1 year period, we are considering validation clinical trials for the FDA clearance.
All right, thank you, Sun-Hyuk, for the wonderful presentation. Everybody, let's give a round of applause to Sun-Hyuk.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Avatar Medic. Avatar Medic develops extended reality XR headsets on mobile devices to train and learn how to perform first aid, CPR, basic life support, and advanced cardiac life support, providing relief for isolated, confined environments. Please welcome Susan Jewell, the co-founder of the company, to the stage as she shares her journey.
Hello, thank you very much for inviting me today. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Avatar Medic, and today we're going to talk about one of our products, HoloTriage. HoloTriage is creating the ability to take first response training, medical XR training, out into the remote, real-time medical relief. We are also a very amazing team. This is my dream team. We're multidisciplinary, multicultural, international, and you can see it's a woman-led company, and we are cumulatively over 100 years of expertise and knowledge, because these are pioneers and innovators in many disciplines, including medical, healthcare, space medicine, technology, VR, and also business and also creative. So one of the problems we see is that there's limited medical resource, there's limited medical experts, as well as training in austere, dangerous environments. That, of course, includes space. So that's kind of one of the solutions we're trying to solve, is to be able to provide these capabilities to offer medical real-time training for these dangerous environments that include space. So we're using the concept of holoportation. And you can see last year, actually, NASA successfully holoported a surgeon and medical students to the International Space Station. So you can see that this could be a paradigm change because it could offer telemedicine in space. So our product, HoloTriage, is a portable, mobile, expandable software platform that is modular, and it's basically all these trainings in first response, in basic life support, advanced life support. It's integrating the use of HoloTriage or HoloLens, and also integrating artificial intelligence, and also eventually haptics and tele-avatars. So you could see here, one of the differentiators is that we're focused on taking extreme, dangerous emergency medicine out into the environment, out into the field, out into remote, dangerous environments, and offering that capability to train, to also bring in experts to those fields. But we are also very focused on bringing in real-time what we call telepresence avatars, and using haptics so you can offer real-time closed-loop systems, so you can bring in an expert into those fields in real time to interact with the on-site team. And so we are a SaaS model, building all these modules so it's modular, customizable, and expandable. We are also very much targeting right now a B2B and B2G, that's business to government, eventually a consumer product. And so obviously being a SaaS model, we are a monthly premium. And here we are the experts in the field of training in austere environments, especially in analog astronautics, where we're working with our partners, Mars, to train space medics and future space doctors. So this is a huge market, a multi-billion-dollar market in all sectors, especially in medicine and med tech, and also to train for the, for example, military and also for space sectors. So right now, we have actually got a prototype, and we've been testing in our analog space medicine training. We are also going to be going into parabolic flight training with Mars, aeronautics training, and then eventually go and into the ISS to try to test on there and launch our MVP next year. Huge traction. We've got seed funding. We also have a contract as subcontractors of the US DoD, Department of Defense, with developing medical XR training. And we are a company that came out of the $10 million Anna Avatar X Prize. And we are working with multiple partners from academia. We have a partnership with Embry-Riddle, the Aerospace Engineering Department. We're also working with Mars, so that allows us to actually test and iterate, fast prototyping, collecting data to be able to expand and to test and validate this model, this platform in the austere environments. And last but not least, I'm really happy to also say that we are semi-finalists for last year's Care in Space 2022. Thank you so much, and this is our ask, 2 phases. But with that, thank you so much.
Thank you, Susan, for your presentation. But now the floor is open for questions for judges to ask. Yes?
Hi, thank you for that presentation. A couple questions about who exactly you are targeting with this training. Is it medical professionals? Is it civilians? People with some medical training or doctors specifically? And then from there, how many hours of training are required in order to deem them proficient in at least the modules that you've already developed?
Good question. And so obviously we're targeting, as you can see, first response. First response is the firefighters, the people that are out in the remote areas, the paramedics. And I think that is an area that has been sort of forgotten. So we're not focusing primarily in the hospital setting, in the clinic setting, you know, where you have the surgeons, you're training them in the operating room. We're taking it out, the training out into the field. It's the first responders, you know, as I said, the disaster rescuers and astronauts, because right now there's no real-time capability to actually do intervention in real time when there's an injury or life-threatening situation in space. So obviously that will be some of our first target customers in terms of testing and being able to take that out into that remote, dangerous area. And we've been working here on Earth, as you could see, the application of this for training the remote providers. And I think that is something that's going to transform the way that we're going to provide access to medical resource, to medical experts, and train them. So it's not difficult. We've been training non-medical analog astronauts since 2014 to test that question. Is can they acquire the knowledge, the skill sets to learn basic medical intervention protocols? And the question is yes, you can. And there's another question is, if you don't use it, you lose it. So not just the acquisition of knowledge and training, it's also the reskilling and the upskilling as well. So the answer to that question is yes. And it doesn't take that long to actually learn some very basic life support interventions, right? Basic support, advanced life support. Of course, our modules that we're going to create more advanced training.
All right, Susan, thank you for your answer. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You may go in. Please give a round of applause for Susan. Up next, we have Brain.Space. Brain.Space builds an AI-based brain data collection gear and analysis software to monitor and diagnose brain disease. Please welcome Amir Handani, the co-founder and CMO of the company, as he shares about his product.
Thank you, everybody. We are BrainSpace. We are developing AI tools for personalized mental health solutions for both diagnostics and therapeutics, both on Earth and off Earth. We all know we utterly need significant biomarkers based on AI, big data models, to diagnose and to treat conditions such as epilepsy, dementia, PTSD, but also emotional traits such as stress and cognitive load. But the problem is, currently, we don't have any brain data standardization, and we cannot provide those AI models. If you try to use MRI scans or functional MRI, it's a complex operation, takes a lot of time, and pretty inaccessible, especially in space. Also, it doesn't have temporal resolution. In order to get temporal resolution, you have to use EEG. But EEG is also a complex operation, time-consuming. You need an operator, and you have significant variable signal. It's variable because of different variability between the operators, anatomical variability because of different head shapes, and functional variability because of different brain regions are actually localized in different places in different individuals. The end result, again, no brain data standardization. We're here to change that. We've developed brain data as a service, starting with the data collection platform, the cloud to store it, and the analytics, all to create standardized brain data. Starting with the platform, we've developed Brain Sensei, which is an autonomous EEG headgear composed of 115 dry sensors, delivering clinical-grade EEG with 2 proprietary patents. The first one, auto-dawning. It calibrates all the sensors to the different head shapes and sizes, solving the anatomical variability. By closing the loop between pressure and comfort and signal quality, we're able to get maximal comfort at maximal signal quality. Again, perfect fit for any head size and shape without the use of an operator in less than 2 minutes. The other patent we've developed is Brain GPS, where we're actually mapping the functional regions of the brain. By delivering several stimulations, we're able to localize the visual cortex, motor cortex, sensory cortex, and auditory cortex. And by that, we're able to realign the grid of sensors in order to individualize the map, and again, standardize the brain scan. And we have done it before. Our platform was on the Axiom 1 mission, and we were able to measure and get our data from 3 astronauts, both pre-mission, during the mission for 16 days on the ISS, and post-mission. We got high-quality data with hundreds of segments, and we are publishing our first paper with Northwestern University. We actually found that 16 days short exposure does not change the posterior dominant rhythm, or the alpha rhythm, as it's called. Our next steps, we want to validate. We want to validate the findings on a larger sample size. We want to understand if a longer exposure does actually change the alpha rhythm. Then we're moving on to cognitive load. We want to learn the effect of cognitive load by using our own AI model that we've developed on thousands of pages on Earth and see how it works on the astronauts to predict performance and mission competence. Our target addressable markets, the first one is cognitive assessment, performance assessment and training, and providing personalized training optimization for our astronauts as well as here on Earth. The second one, non-molecular diagnostics, identifying biomarkers for treatment and diagnosis. We're currently working on mild cognitive impairment, depression treatment, and also with pharma for clinical research development of new drugs. Here's our timeline. We're already involved in several clinical trials developing those biomarkers. We are advancing our hardware, and we are amassing thousands of standardized brain data scans. And since this year, we already started to generate revenues. Our competitors have inferior data sets, non-standardized, inferior signal quality, and less comfort. But most of all, they're not standardized. Here's the amazing team I'm so lucky to be a part of: physicians, physicists, engineers, and simply geniuses. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amr, for your presentation. Judges, now you can ask questions. Yes.
What is your strategy to collect the large-scale sample data?
Great question. So we are involved both in academics and industry, deploying both on clinical trials and non-clinical trials, developing both biomarkers, but eventually amassing a lot of data. We're currently already in connection with 4 different defense companies that we have amassing thousands of patients and different subjects in order to amass that data, both in healthy and non-healthy. We're in relationship with 5 different hospitals in Israel and the US, again, to amass data.
Thank you for that nice presentation. It's a question on when you talk about standardized data sets, because you're going to need tens of thousands, I mean more than to make your models, but is it dependent on your device to really truly be standardized, or is it going to be agnostic and we'll be able to use data sets of EEG collected around the world?
Great question. So first of all, yes, we know it's going to take 10,000, more than 100,000, and that's what we're heading for. We are going to complete this even this year, but we realize that we have to use our hardware. We are a data company, but we realize that if we used any other platform, and we have tried to use whatever is on the shelf today, it's non-reliable. It doesn't work. The test reliability is wrong, and you cannot amass the data. The 10, 20 systems that are out there do not work if you actually try to develop models. But the end results of this, when we do have 10,000 and 100,000 of data set, the goal is eventually to scale down and go to a smaller sensor that will actually generate from the models that we have created.
All right. Thank you, Amir, for the wonderful presentation. Once again, let's give a round of applause for Amir, everyone.
Thank you.
That concludes day 2 of the startup pitches of the Humans in Space Challenge. Congratulations to all the finalists today. As we wrap up the session, we thank our incredible judging panel for their expertise and wish all of our finalists continued success in their journey. Once again, we are the Humans in Space team, and we look forward to paving the road for interplanetary civilization in unity with all of you. Thank you, and I'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m.